Hey guys, so today I wanted to do a little discussion video about the recent Spirit Box session that I posted. There was so much new information came out about the spirits during that session that I just think it's worth giving you a little bit more detail on some of my thoughts behind some of those answers. And for those of you who aren't really a big fan of watching the actual Spirit Box sessions themselves, and this gives you an opportunity to kind of pull the main information out of that video and see some of my conclusions from it as well. So jumping right in with the most exciting news, I finally have a name for the spirit that's been protecting me for the last 2 years. Now, during the session I was speaking to a spirit who outright told me their name was Daniel, and as the discussion went on, it turned out that this spirit had actually been around sort of always, was the exact words he used. So in each house that I've been in since this all began, this spirit's been there. And it just sort of dawned on me to ask, well, are you the spirit that's been protecting me? Because something about it felt familiar. And the words that came out were, I help. Are you like, sort of like my guardian, my protector?
No?
Now for me, you don't really need much more validation than that. That is a direct response to my question, and it literally answered it to a T, because if this was the spirit that's been protecting me, then helping is exactly what he's done, and I'm more than happy to take that as a conclusion that Daniel is the spirit that's been protecting me. And just having the name is such a big deal for me because I've never known what to call him. It's always been the spirit protecting me or my guardian spirit, and you know what I mean, that sort of thing. It's just very impersonal, so to actually have a name to call him makes communication so much easier, and differentiating between whichever spirit I'm speaking to at the time is just brilliant. It also gives me a jumping on point for any research that I can do into like my family tree, for example, to see if this person's a relative. Never actually answered that question in the session despite asking it. So yeah, that itself is a huge development and gives me something to actually aim for in my research. Jumping forward into a sort of a darker point of the session, like I say, the session itself was quite long and we got a lot of information, and one of those bits of information was how Anna died. Now, during the session, Anna had come forward to start communicating, and it got to a point where I feel it's just time to be a little bit more blunt, and that is, I've tiptoed around the fact that she's a ghost, that she has died in the past. I've tiptoed around it for a while, and I think after a while it's just got to be said. The question has to be asked: how did you die? You know, and I got called mean in one of the comments for being so blunt, but I think I've been as polite as I can with the questioning, and I don't think I worded it badly. I think I was as polite as I could be with that question, and she turned around and told me that he caught me. I was like, all right, well, who did they hurt you? Who hurt you? That sort of thing. And they told me the name Sido came out. Who was it who caught you?
Sido.
And what followed that actually sent shivers down my spine. She turned around and said, he touched me, and I just didn't expect it. How did... The whole thing honestly breaks my heart, because when she came out with those words, instantly my mind went to the fact that I think she was raped and killed, and I know a lot of you guys in the comments thought the exact same thing, and honestly I can't explain how sad that makes me. And it was that sadness that followed the statement that kind of for me sort of slightly validates the conclusion I've drawn, because as those words came out, I was just it's just a wash of emotion. You can actually see it on my face. I didn't know where to place myself. And Sido itself, I come up with two conclusions for the name Sido. One, it could be a nickname, so short for Sydney, or even a nickname for Sid. At which point, if she's using the word Sido, like a nickname for a person, then that kind of alludes to the fact that she might have actually known this person in life before this event. And if that's the case, then that just makes it even more tragic, because this is someone she knew enough to have a nickname for them that has betrayed her in like one of the worst ways that it is possible to betray someone. And you know what I mean, like that is so tragic that that makes me so sad to even think that could be possible, and that there's someone that was able to do that to somebody else. It honestly breaks my heart to think about it. The second conclusion is that the actual name Sido itself is derived from Latin, and it means killer or murderer. And a lot of you guys did the exact same thing as me when you heard the name Sido. Straight to Google, type it in, and that was the definition that came up for it. Now, I'm not saying it's a coincidence. I think I'm not a big fate believer, but that is a huge coincidence. That's what the name means. Now, it could be that if the name Sido was used to mean killer, then perhaps Sido is not the name of the spirit that did it, but maybe another spirit has chimed in with that definition, like saying a killer killed her or a murderer killed her, that sort of thing. And you know, I mean, I don't know how old these spirits are. They could just happen to speak a little bit of Latin, or perhaps it's some kind of riddle that came through. I don't really know. But I thought that was interesting, and I thought the fact that it correlated to that definition was really, really interesting. Following that statement, finding that information out, I was trying to explain that, you know what I mean, whatever's happened, and I think I do understand without saying it in as many words, because obviously that must have been hard to say. She's obviously held it back this long, so the fact that she's come this far and said it is a big step, and I know something like that must be unbelievably traumatic, you know, both physically and mentally, and being able to actually outright tell somebody what's happened isn't so easy. So I kind of tiptoed around it a little bit more and said, you know what I mean, whatever's happened, it's, you know what I mean, you don't have to stay here for them. They can't hurt you anymore. And the word sorry came through, and the way that word sorry came through, it gives me chills. Just hearing it, it honestly breaks my heart. Like, you can feel the pain in her voice as she says it, and I can't even bear listening to it, really, if I'm honest. I've listened to it only a couple of times while I was reviewing, and as much as I can avoid it, I'm going to avoid listening to it again. I know what she said, I don't need to hear it. But when hearing it, you can understand why there's so much pain, because there's a lot of psychological trauma that goes into an event like that. And I reckon on some level she probably blames herself for it. And I know it sounds daft, but these people prey on you. They know that you're vulnerable, and that's what they lead to. And so I know there's a lot of psychological healing that needs to go into it. So I'm not in any way expecting just having that communication session to help her move forward. Obviously, I'm hoping that in some way, knowing that I know that information can help her to move on to whatever comes next. But I know that it's likely that there's going to need to be a follow-up session. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of just monitor the activity in the house over the next few days, few weeks, just to see how it is. I'm not just going to jump straight into a follow-up session and start berating her with questions, because it must have been hard enough for her to come out with it at this point. So just jumping in and keep bugging her with more questions is only going to set her back and move her away, and these things take time. So I'm gonna kind of monitor the activity, and if she feels she needs to come forward and speak, I'm no doubt that she'll make her presence known to me. I will be able to sense that she's around at some point, if that's what she wants to do. So that's my plan. I'm gonna just kind of monitor it and see how it goes. So let me know what you guys think anyway. Did you come to any other conclusions that I may have missed? And you know, just drop them down in the comments and let me know, because I do really value your opinions. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll post any and all activity as and when I get it.